Folks, today I want to talk to you about how you should approach your marketing role as a first marketing hire in a B2B startup. The reason I want to make a video on this situation is because I know the first marketing hire generally tends to have way too much on their plate, and it results in a lack of focus, which results in a lack of clarity in terms of what they're doing, subsequently leading to a lack of clarity in the board members or the stakeholders, which leads to an unsatisfied decision making panel. So, to avoid that kind of confusion and to avoid not feeling like knowing what you're doing, we're going to have a clear roadmap for that. And I've been in this situation before and I've been lost there before. So, I want to pass on my learnings to make sure that the up and coming marketers don't feel the same way. I want to make some assumptions so that we know that how the situation needs to be tweaked for someone who's not in this exact situation. The assumptions are, number one, we don't have an understanding of the target buyer. So this is the first time you're marketing to a new persona or it's a new industry for you, and you need to learn about the people you're selling to. The annual contract value is $20,000. Budget is $200,000 a year. Category saturation is moderate and it's growing. Customer acquisition cost is not yet defined because you're the first marketing hire and marketing is just getting started. Sales cycle length, on average, it takes about 6 months for us to close a deal. The target market is mid-sized businesses with 50 to 500 employees. You see, this is very broad, right? Current sales pipeline, minimal with a few early adopters, typical startup scenario. Team size, you're the only marketer, right? So given this situation, how would we approach our marketing? So the first 2 weeks, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be setting expectations. And the way we will set expectations is we'll provide this whole roadmap. So this lays out your plan for the first 6 months, right? And you can literally take this and show it to your stakeholders or your CEO and go like, hey, this is my roadmap for how I'll approach my role. And this is the time you can expect because this contains timeline. And if you want me to make any adjustments, we can talk it through. Otherwise, this is what it's going to take, right? So because you'll share this, you'll talk about what you will do and when they can expect some results. This is really important because for a non-marketing executive, they're going to be up your ass very soon about results, right? And what this setting expectations at the start does, it lets them know, hey, this is the timeline to expect any kind of results. And when you talk about when you can expect some results, you bring in this sales cycle length of 6 months into play, right? So you talk in that terms. You say, hey, if our sales cycle length is 6 months and I am just getting started and I'm going to be laying some foundations, so there's going to be a time lag of at least 2 to 3 months in terms of setting the foundations, right? Or 2 months, whatever. So given the sales cycle length of 6 months, if you're willing to measure marketing in top line revenue effect, it's going to take about 8 to 9 months to see any significant results at the top. You're going to have some activity happening. You're going to have boost in traffic in the meanwhile. You're going to have some conversations happening in the meanwhile. You're going to get some leads, sure. But in terms of hardcore revenue metrics, there is going to be an 8 to 9 month lag. So be very clear from week 1 about that. And that'll actually not only clarify them on what to expect from you, that'll also solidify your image as someone who knows what they're doing, right? And then you'll also talk about why it is important that all of that, what you're going to do, right? You have to sell it. You have to sell what you're doing and why you're doing it. So once you're done with setting expectations, the next thing is now understanding the customer, because this is a new market. How are you going to approach understanding the customer? So you're going to book feedback calls with existing customers, talk to the people who are already there, talk to them about how they use you, why they chose you, what they like about you, what they dislike about you, right? And you're trying to collect insights that are later going to feed your messaging and positioning strategy, and also help you understand how discovery is made or decision making is made for products like yours, which will help you select the distribution channels and your go-to-market motion later on. The next thing you want to do is read customer reviews from competitors. A lot of the times in interview situations, you're not going to be able to get the information or people are not going to say the things that they should be saying. Either they're being polite, either they just don't care, they want to get off the call, whatever, right? But if you go and read angry reviews from customers, you're going to find opportunities for improvement. You're going to find opportunities um, where your product needs to deliver or what messaging would work. So, for example, let's say someone says, hey, I bought this piece of software for $500 a month and it doesn't even have scheduling in it. Now you know that scheduling is an important feature. So if your product has scheduling, you push that harder, right? Then you go to Reddit for insights. Reddit is a gold mine when it comes to discovery because there are some really deep conversations happening there. And what I like to do is I like to join subreddits of my target audience where they're having discussions. I like to analyze them for vocabulary. I like to analyze them for pain points, the jobs to be done, and I like to identify them for trends. These are the three key things you're looking for in those discussions, right? And the final thing you're going to do in your first couple of weeks is analyze competition. And when I say analyze competition, you're going to analyze basically their positioning. So when you analyze your competition, you're going to see, hey, what features are they focusing on? What's the sort of pricing, the look and feel, all of that jazz, right? And once you're done in week 1 and 2 with all of that, that feeds into developing the strategy now. Sorry, one thing I forgot to mention here in the understand the customers. If you already have a sales team, I think they're a good place to go as well. Have a conversation with them because they're the ones who are directly in contact with your prospects. Try and glean insights from them as well. So once we've done all of that, we come into building out our strategy. Our strategy is going to include clarifying ICP, who's our ideal client, not our total addressable market, but our ideal client, right? What should be our positioning? Because we've already understood the customer. We know what their pains are, what they're talking about. We've analyzed the competition and we've found the windows of opportunity where we can fill in a gap. That's where we'll get the positioning strategy from. Messaging, again, talking to customers and all of that feeds your messaging strategy. Channel selection, we talked about distribution earlier. You're gonna use your findings to finalize your channels. You're gonna build out a content strategy. And this is not a content calendar. This is a content strategy. What the content needs to be, how it needs to present itself, and on what channels. And then you're gonna build a 6 months roadmap. This is not going to be a 12 months roadmap because you're so early in the role. All of what the analysis that you've done, a lot of it could be flawed. A lot of new learnings are going to be onboarded once you start executing. So you're going to have that thought that, hey, I'm going to test this out for 6 months and then I'm going to collect data, validate what's working and what's not working, and then fix the things. Metrics for success. How are you going to measure success? Now, once you develop that strategy, in week 3 and 4, I would dedicate week 3 to this. And then week 4, I would dedicate to building out the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure required to do your marketing, right? Your CRM hygiene and stages, your sales stages, your attribution and your tags, reporting, your own internal dashboards. You can think of more, but you get the idea, right? You're going to spend week 4 on building that foundation. So you see, it's been 4 weeks, and unlike traditional wisdom, we're not going for quick wins. We're taking our time. We're building a solid foundation. But we're able to do that because in step 1, we communicated to the board members that, hey, we're going to be doing this, right? Once we're done with all of that, week 5 and week 6 are all about getting ready for execution, right? So you do your campaign ideation based on your strategy that you developed, the campaigns that you're going to need to build. You're going to build out a organic content calendar, whether that's SEO, whether that's organic social. You're going to build that out. You're going to figure out your resources, whether you have them internally, you're going to need some freelancers or whatever, and you're going to start doing resource allocation, right? And week 7, now this is where you start getting your hands dirty. This is where everything comes into motion. So when you start executing also, like, I mean, it's a no-brainer that you're gonna, as a marketer, you need to start from the bottom up in terms of the funnel. You're not going to start top down because you're in a startup environment and you want to ideally get some quick wins, right? You want to start having an influence on revenue. So that is why we're going to focus on bottom of funnel activities at this point. And some things that I recommend in that is develop a solid product onboarding, because at this point there's no different product marketer. You are the marketer, you're responsible for everything. Work with your founder and build a solid product onboarding, because no point getting customers who don't know what to do with your product. Start with SEO bottom of funnel pages, not blogs. Bottom of funnel pages, pricing, versus competition, alternatives, use cases, persona pages, stuff like that. Then your lead aggregate listings, because at this time I'm assuming you don't have a lot of authority on your side, so you're going to leverage the authority of sites like Software Advice, G2, Capterra, and you're going to build strong listings on them. I even recommend going for paid listings, to be honest, and doing some PPC over there. You want a black box on-site demo if it's relevant to your product, where people can actually poke around with your product. A PPC campaign, both on search engines and on lead aggregate listings. This is where you start gunning for those in-market buyers. You're gonna start executing. You're gonna have a webinar strategy first that you develop in the previous week, and then you start executing on your webinar strategy. You'll build out sales and product collateral, no brainer. And then you're also going to start focusing on lifecycle campaigns. So people have already signed up to your product or your mailing list, and you're going to have some sort of a flow to keep them engaged, feed them information, how to use the product, blah, blah, blah. So these are the things that you're going to start in week 7. You're going to publish them, you're going to test them. If success, you scale the successful ones. If failure, you iterate. But all of them lead to data and insights to validate the work that you did in week 3 and 4, your strategy, right? Because the point of all of this is to make sure that the strategy is right. So you collect that, you analyze your performance, impact on revenue after 6 months, and then based on your findings, you make adjustments to your strategy, positioning, whatever, and go back to week 5 and week 6. So you take your findings and that's actually no, actually that's right. Yeah. So you take your findings, you rethink or tweak your strategy, and based on that, come back to new campaign ideation, change in content, change in resource allocation, and adjust your strategy or go to market based on the findings that you've just had. Again, this is a 6 months plan. You're gonna have enough time with this plan to build a good foundation. You're going to have your stakeholders are going to be happy with what you're doing, and you yourself are going to be focused. That's the key thing as the single marketing team or the first marketing hire. Focus is massive, because you're not going to get that unless you have something like this in place. So I hope this is going to help someone. And like always, if any questions, any comments, do let me know. Good luck.